Hey guys, Nick's here. So today I'm going to do a point-by-point response to another one of Alliance for Christ 1's videos. I read in his comments and he says at the beginning of the videos his name or handle is Shock, so I'll just refer to him as Shock for this video. Now I had a long day at work and I'm not sure if I have it in me to do a long rant unaided, so I'm going to break this up and edit it and take him point by point. So first point is that you cannot be an atheist without believing in evolution, and you cannot be a Christian and believe in evolution. You are either not observing properly what's going on around you, or you're going straight for the no true Scotsman fallacy, or in this case, no true Christian. I happen to know, personally, a couple of 50 Christians who actively believe in evolution. Dawn Exodus 2 comes to mind, right? So there's point one, basically flat out, you're already incorrect. You can also be an atheist and not believe in tenets of evolution, though the likelihood is, as you point out, that if you are an atheist, you're going to believe in something like evolution by natural selection. However, I want to immediately start by distancing myself from Darwin. Darwin is who we call the real progenitor of the theory as a foundational starting point. Darwin was wrong on some issues, and he was massively incomplete on many more. So to say a Darwinist is the same thing as me calling you a Mosesist, because Moses started the interactions, the blah 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 that you're following. And you would say, I'm not a Mosesist, I'm a Christian. I believe in many things other than one specific doctrine. So I think it's fair to say that evolutionist is not a valid term, because I believe in a lot of things other than evolution. Evolution doesn't define my life. It's one aspect of a single scientific field that is supported very strongly by evidence. But as for any personal attachment I have to Darwin, none whatsoever. I respect him as a solid thinker. He did great things considering his time and the tools at his disposal. But I don't respect him in that sense. I'm no more Darwinist than I am a Saganist or a Weinbergist or, it doesn't add up to say that we all have a personal attachment to Darwin. All right, before we get into your 3 points about Darwinism, I gotta jump on this quote you're giving about teachers saying, sorry kid, I don't believe in evolution, but I'm forced to teach it to you by law. Fair enough, they can say that. And then you say, see, they're being forced to indoctrinate children. No. So what you're saying then is all publicly approved curriculum taught in government-funded schools by your tax dollars, said government tax, you know what I'm talking about. So everything taught is indoctrination, all of it. Which means that by the same logic, if you were successful and got creationism taught in schools, I could validly argue that my kids are being indoctrinated towards creationism. So if your issue here is what's being taught, make it what's being taught. Don't make it the topic of brainwashing children, because that's a very different thing we have to think about, and you just presented a case against teaching anything in school. So if a teacher holds a private belief and wants to espouse in their classroom that they don't want to teach what's being added to the curriculum, I suppose that is their right to do so. I don't see why, if it's a private belief, they would have to broadcast it in that way and therefore conflict school children. But that's not indoctrination. Have you ever considered the fact, I'm sure you have, that creationism has been defeated in court soundly and roundly, was not defended by the so-called best of the best thinkers of creationism, and that there may in fact be a valid and justified reason why the law requires us to teach only things that have been tested out and proven to be at least valid, have some leg to stand on? So, we Darwinists would have you believe that we are direct relatives of apes, huh? I'll go one further and quote the Texas Tank as saying the reason we are not different from apes is because we are apes. As we speak, you, sir, and myself, we are apes. You just got to deal with it. Now, you go on to say, can you imagine an ape building a 747 or even making a Thanksgiving dinner? No. I can't imagine my deadbeat uncle doing the same thing. Does that mean we're not related? Of course not. We're farther along the tool progression and technology progression ladder than they are. Doesn't mean anything about us being non-related or interrelated to say that one can achieve a task that the other cannot. Some birds can fly. Some can't. Are you going to tell me now that because one bird can fly and another can't, that, clearly they're not related? Well, I suppose you might be able to do that, saying that they were created by different, along different standards by God, but doesn't that kind of get in the way of the creating each along their own kind? So then we can go down and say that kind actually refers to every single speciated type of creature, which really gets confusing and doesn't lend you any scientific credence for what you're saying. I'm going to jump in early in point 2 here, and you're starting to talk about radiocarbon dating. First off, I'm going to point out that there are very many different chemical dating methods, and the overwhelming majority of their results are concurrent and work out with each other perfectly. Now, you go on to say that a freshly killed seal dated some X years old, and we obviously know that it wasn't. Now, let me ask you, if one error in results is sufficient to dismiss an entire testing procedure, then Bible prophecy cannot be held true, because how many times have people claimed the rapture was coming, and how many times have they said it was coming within the next 50 years? It's happened repeatedly, and is happening now. You have your, Left Behind series and all that. I put to you then that your analysis of scientific method is invalid, because you say that one erroneous result invalidates the entire practice. And of course, I don't know the specifics of your example, but I can tell you that composite material is often an issue in these things. And a bit of, say, really old plant matter that had been, dunked into the wound by the shark biting it or whatnot could easily throw off results like that. I've heard a similar one involving lava flows. And it's foolish to suggest that rock that was just spit out of a volcano didn't exist a very long time ago. Let's see, in point 3, we're going on here to suggest some facts in the fossil record that disprove evolution. First, the sudden appearance of animals. What kind of sudden are you talking about, man? The Cambrian explosion took millions of years. This whole jackass intelligent design thing with the 2 minutes out of a 24-hour period. Well, if 24 hours is 14.5 billion years, 2 minutes is a long while, buddy. Let's see, what else do you say here? You say the sudden appearance of plants. Ditto, covered. You're saying things that don't transform, and that's only your first 3 examples here, but animals not transforming. Take the shark, which has existed in its current state for a very, very long time. It's difficult for the human mind to wrap around how long, really. Why? Because it's good enough at its job already. It doesn't have to change. I don't know why that would be a really big objection to anything. To say that you haven't developed a new set of job skills recently suggests not that you are incapable of doing so, but that you haven't had the need to do so. Okay, red light here. You just gave the statistic or the reference that only a few places on Earth even have 3 appropriately timed and layered geological layers. I'm going to have to take your word for that until I look it up, but I can think of several explanations for that off the top of my head. One being that the topography has changed so dramatically in the last several million years. I mean, things that do not look even vaguely the same. We used to all be one big landmass, buddy. Now there's 7 of them, or what we call 7. Did I know that most of the scientific community has abandoned Mr. Darwin's notions on the origin of life? Yes, I did know that. Point 2, why? Because they're wrong. Point 3, evolution has nothing to do with the origins of life. It has to do with what happens to life, how it evolves and diversifies once it already exists. You want to talk about abiogenesis or creation or anything? Creation itself, the origin of life, is a separate topic and not addressed by Darwinian or any other theory of evolution that has ever been taught to anybody anywhere. Next. Oh, I found the kitten after all. Look, it's a tiny cat. This will be continued in part 2.